Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I didn't think the conversation would change everything. Weddings are stressful. Everyone says that. So when Elizabeth started acting distant a few months before our date, I told myself it was nerves, planning fatigue, family pressure. We had been together 4 years. Lived together too. Built a rhythm that felt solid. I trusted that. The night it came up, we were sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by seating charts and half-empty coffee mugs. She looked distracted, tapping her phone, rereading the same message. I asked her if something was wrong. She hesitated, then said almost casually, "I was thinking about inviting Ryan." Ryan, her ex. I waited for her to laugh, to clarify, to say she meant someone else. She didn't. She kept her eyes on the table, like this was a reasonable thing to say. My stomach tightened, but I stayed calm. I asked why. She said they'd stayed in touch, that he was important to her past, that it would feel strange not having him there. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just said it made me uncomfortable. This was our wedding. She nodded, but her expression didn't change. She said she understood, then added, "I just don't want drama." That was the first time I felt something shift. Not anger. Distance. Over the next few weeks, it kept coming up in small ways. She mentioned how mature it would be if I was okay with it. How confident men didn't feel threatened by history. How Ryan had supported her during a hard time and deserved to be included. Each time, she framed it like my reaction was the issue, not the request. I started paying attention to things I'd ignored before. How often she texted him. How she took her phone into another room to answer calls. How defensive she got if I asked questions. Nothing blatant. Just enough to make me feel like I was standing slightly off-center in my own life. If you've ever been in a relationship where something felt off but you couldn't quite name it, tap like, so this story reaches people who need to hear they're not imagining things. One night, I asked her directly if she still had feelings for him. She laughed, not kindly, said I was overthinking, said weddings make men insecure. I apologized for asking, even though I wasn't sure what I was apologizing for. Then came the compromise. She suggested Ryan attend the ceremony, but skip the reception. Or maybe just come to the reception for a bit. Or maybe I could just give her space around it and trust her. The options kept changing, but the pressure didn't. I realized something uncomfortable. Every version of the solution required me to swallow my discomfort so she wouldn't have to feel hers. The day it clicked wasn't dramatic. We were driving home from a tasting appointment. She was talking about centerpieces when her phone lit up. Ryan's name flashed on the dashboard screen. She reached for it quickly and declined the call. When I asked why, she said she'd call him back later. I asked why later mattered. She said, "Because I don't want you to misinterpret things." That sentence stayed with me. Misinterpret what exactly? That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and replayed everything. Not just the wedding issue, but the pattern. How often my feelings were framed as problems to manage. How often I was told to be understanding, patient, evolved. I wasn't angry at Ryan. I was exhausted by Elizabeth. Pause here and tell me in the comments. Do you think inviting an ex to a wedding is ever appropriate, or is that a line that shouldn't be crossed? A week later, she brought it up again, this time more firmly. She said she needed me to trust her, and that if I couldn't, it said something about our future. I looked at her and felt a strange calm settle in, the kind that shows up when you stop arguing with reality. I told her she could invite whoever she wanted. I said I didn't want to control her choices. I said she should have the space to do what felt right. Her shoulders relaxed. She smiled, relieved. She thanked me for being mature. If this moment hit close to home, comment the word boundaries below. I read everyone. From the outside, it probably looked like I'd given in, like I'd lost. But something inside me had gone quiet. I stopped debating, stopped negotiating. I started watching. I noticed how quickly she updated Ryan. How she didn't ask how I felt anymore, just assumed. How the wedding plans became hers, not ours. I gave her space, just like I said I would. Emotionally, mentally, practically. She didn't notice at first. By the time she did, it was already too late, and she had no idea what I was about to do next. Elizabeth noticed the distance about 2 weeks later. She asked if I was okay, said I seemed quieter. I told her I was just giving her the space she'd asked for. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and went back to her phone. That told me everything I needed to know. The wedding kept moving forward. Deposits paid. Invitations sent. Ryan's name printed neatly on the guest list. I watched it all with a strange attachment, like I was observing someone else's life. I didn't argue. I didn't protest. I didn't try to win her back. I started planning something else entirely. I called my brother and told him not to worry if he didn't hear from me on the wedding day. I transferred money from our joint savings into my personal account, exactly half, nothing more. I updated my work schedule, quietly boxed my personal things, and moved them into storage during lunch breaks. Elizabeth didn't notice the drawers emptying. She was too busy curating a perfect moment. A week before the wedding, she said Ryan wanted to bring a date. She said it like it was a small detail. I nodded and said that was fine. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The morning of the rehearsal dinner, Elizabeth left early for hair and makeup trials. I stayed behind, standing in the apartment we were supposed to leave as a married couple. It felt lighter already. I took my suitcase, left my keys on the counter, and walked out without locking the door. I didn't go to the venue. I didn't go to the airport. I drove 3 hours north to a small coastal town I'd bookmarked years ago and never visited. Checked into a quiet hotel under my own name. Turned off my phone. If you believe walking away without chaos can be the strongest response, consider sharing this story with someone who might need permission to choose themselves. Elizabeth called 12 times that afternoon. Then texts. Then panic. By evening, she reached out to my brother. He told her he didn't know where I was. Because he didn't. That was intentional. I turned my phone back on the next morning. There were voicemails now. Her tone had shifted from confusion to anger to fear. One message stood out. She said, "Ryan is asking questions. This is embarrassing." That was it. Not worried. Not hurt. Embarrassed. I sent one message. "I gave you the space you wanted. I just took mine too. Please don't contact me again." Then I blocked her number. The wedding didn't happen. Vendors were furious. Guests were confused. Ryan, I heard later, disappeared as soon as things got uncomfortable. Elizabeth moved back in with her parents for a while. She emailed me twice from different addresses. I didn't respond. In your opinion, was disappearing without explanation justified here? Or should James have confronted Elizabeth directly? Share your take below. Months passed. Life settled. The silence that once scared me became peaceful. I started running again, sleeping better, making decisions without checking if they made sense to someone else. I didn't miss Elizabeth. I missed who I thought we were. One afternoon, a mutual friend told me Elizabeth said she never saw it coming. That hurt, but not the way it used to. Some people don't see consequences until they're standing in them. If this story resonated with you, type the word clarity in the comments. It helps others find stories like this. I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. I just know now that love doesn't require swallowing discomfort to keep the peace. It doesn't ask you to shrink so someone else can feel validated. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was alignment. I didn't vanish to punish Elizabeth. I vanished because staying would have meant disappearing anyway. If you've ever chosen self-respect over relationship, tap answer this question in the comments. What was the moment you knew it was time to leave? And subscribe for more stories about quiet strength and hard choices.